Okay, it's time now for possibly the most important aspects of a WordPress blog. We need to actually output the content of the blog. So we have here on our page a whole load of dynamic content. We've managed to hook up the menu, we've managed to hook up the sidebars and the widgets and various other plugins. That's all dynamic and being pumped out from the back end. But this area in the middle of our document is still static. So that's what we're going to now replace. We do that with the help of what's referred to as the loop. And the loop is the result of a query that runs upon every page load that pulls all the content from the database, and we can manipulate that in various ways with the loop function. So let's see, where are we? We're on our index.php here. This is what we're working on, and here we can see a whole load of these articles which are all churned out for the sake of our presentation. I'm just going to get rid of all but one of those. And there we go, just to clean things up a little bit. We know what we're looking at a little better. And it's this that I'm, to begin with, going to repeat in the case of all our blog posts. So the loop is now going to pump out one of these articles for every occurrence of an article in the database. So this is what the loop looks like. Again, there's plenty of information on WP Tuts about the loop and exactly how it works. But what we basically say is if there are posts in the loop, while there are those posts, then pump out a post. And I'm going to finish off with an end while statement at the bottom here, and then we can put out that's an else statement, so I can put out some sort of for example, let's put in a paragraph that says, sorry, this is fairly standard stuff, no posts matched your criteria, because of course this loop also works for search results, pages, whatever. And then of course we need to finish our if statement there. So what we've said is, while there are contents to output one of these for every instance of those. Otherwise, churn out this little label here that'll tell us that there's nothing to actually output. So I'm going to save that, and now you'll notice that we have a whole load more than we first did. It's pumping out quite a lot of posts for every results page. So what I'm going to do is, under the settings, I'm going to alter this figure here. I'm just going to show, let's see how many, let's just show 4 posts for the time being. I'm going to save that, and then instead of looping that many times, it's only going to loop 4 times to begin with. We'll handle the pagination later on, but now you'll see that it's just rolling out 4 instances of the content I've asked it to loop over. Now what we need to do is swap out all this information for dynamic content. So instead of looping over static blocks of code, we're going to change all this for dynamic information. So our article element, that remains as it is, as does the, this is interesting, we need these featured images for a kickoff. Let's change the image. That would be a good thing to change. Again, this is something that on WP Tuts you can find more information about. The first thing I need to do, even though featured images are already working because of our Flex Slider plugin, at the bottom of our functions.php, it's important to make sure that you include this. Adding theme support for post thumbnails. This is going to, were it not for that Flex Slider, this would present us with that little add featured image let me just show you. That provides us with this little featured image tool at the bottom on our publishing page, on our post page. So that's the image we want to pull into this thumbnail in every instance here on our blog. And in order to do that, we use a little bit of, let's see, yeah, I know what we'll do. We'll use that, and then we'll use an else statement. So we go to our little chunk of outputted code, and this is the image that we're asking it to churn out. Let me just post this in here, and then we need to just round that off with by finishing off our if-else conditional statement. Now what it's saying is if the function of post thumbnail exists, then it searches for the post thumbnail associated with the post that we're outputting by looking for the ID of the post. Then it has to actually get the URL for that particular image, which it attaches to this variable called thumbnail, and then that's what it echoes within the source attribute of our image tag here. So without going into the complexities of that, because I'm not intelligent enough to even explain that properly, this is the value. It's the first of the thumbnail array values, which is the source path to that featured image. So what it's saying is, while that function exists, then churn that out. Otherwise, else we'll ask it to just pump out this silly default image here, which is fine. So we'll save that. And you can see that each one of these has a different featured image. Actually, they don't all have different featured images, but they all have different images if they've been selected. And this, of course, is the default image if they don't have a featured image selected. Right, starting to waffle now. This is going to get boring if I'm not careful. So let's start swapping out some more of our details. It would be helpful if that figure element, that image, was wrapped in an anchor that's actually going to take you somewhere if you click on it. So I'm going to let's see, where would that be? That would be like this. So I've got an anchor which is pointing to the permalink, which is the link for any given post, which now means that upon hovering over these little thumbnails here, for some reason I don't get a pointer icon. I'll do on that case anyway. So that then actually takes you somewhere, which is pretty useful. Let's now move on. We've got the breadcrumbs. We've done our thumbnail, so we need to move into this second column section. Things like the title, they're fairly important. So I'll just get rid of that by replacing it with the title. Again, wrapped in an anchor with the permalink. So that's going to take us to the post as well. I've got a load of meta details which I can fill in like this. Posted by the author posts link, and that's going to churn out a link and the author name. This is for the time when that happened to be published, in whatever format you deem necessary, and then a standard function to throw out the amount of comments associated with a post. There we go, the comments pop-up link function. That does that, and then of course the very important get rid of this, the content, which on a results page is going to pump out everything above the more tag. In our case, I've provided each of the posts with a more tag, so you're only going to get a little bit of an introduction unless you actually click on the content to have a look at further details. You can see that we've got some additional styling in there which we don't necessarily want. We could do with getting rid of the underline under that title. That's not particularly what we had in mind. So let's just go down here underneath. We want text decoration, none. And then give it an underline if it's hovered over, and that will just neaten things up a little bit. I've probably been a little long-winded about the date format, but that's not really a problem. And comments there, of course, if comments are to be included in the template, indeed. So that's good. That's the essence of our loop. And now, of course, clicking on any of these will take us to that page, which in this case is still index.php and is therefore still churning out this flex slider. We can remedy that very simply by effectively copying our index.php. I'll duplicate that and I'm going to call it single, if Coda will let me. Now WordPress works with a whole hierarchy of pages. It will look for the most specific example of a page first, and upon not finding that, it will go slightly higher and higher and higher until it reaches index.php, at which point it will output the content on that page. So a home page is always going to be churned out on index.php in our case, and a post type will be churned out with single PHP. So I effectively want to get rid of this whole slider at the top, and neither do I want the pagination, so that can go as well. I can alter all sorts of different aspects of this page to customize it for the purposes of a post page. But that will do us for the time being. Yes, for example, I could do with I should tell you what I'll do. I'll leave that initial I'll leave those 16 columns in there. That should give it a little bit of padding. Quick solution. Get rid of this white space. Save that. Oh, it's given it no padding at all. Obviously, I need to do that to take care of that properly in the CSS. In any case, we now have a separate page for our post, which just makes things a lot more, a lot neater. So the next thing we need to do is make these pagination links functional as well, because they're currently listed on the index.php as pure static nonsense, which won't help us in any respect. Again, I'm going to point you to a WP-Tuts post to sort this out, because this is something that I can't possibly do myself. Within our nav of class pagination, I'm going to get rid of this UL here, and I'm going to post in this snippet here, which obviously you'll find if you go rooting around in the source files for this tutorial. You'll see that it looks for pages, and if there are more than one page, if there's more than one page present, then it will echo this array of bits and bobs here. So this is where we can determine what exactly it looks like, whether we want previous or next links hooked up to that. We in this case want to sort of recreate exactly what we have in our static example. So we really just want the numeric text links, and you can see that by checking out the markup, it's just thrown out a simple UL, which is exactly what we had beforehand, with a list item for each link and an anchor, which we've been able to style. The first one and the current one is outputted in a span rather than an anchor. So we need to just alter the way our CSS handles that, because that's currently not styled in any respect. So let's just open up our CSS file here. Oh, it's here already. And we'll have a look for pagination, see if we can find that. There it is. Selected and hover. Now you see that wouldn't be selected, that would be a span of current, I think it was called. And of course the span is going to need to be styled in a similar way to the anchor. Hopefully that will have taken care of it. Yep, there we go. So that works exactly as it should do. Interestingly, they don't actually work. Which is rubbish. Page 3. Oh, that's because they're looking for. That's because they're looking for friendly URLs. Let's take a look quickly at our permalinks, and we're going to change the structure of our permalinks to this. Okay, so now instead of using page 55 and giving it an ID, it's going to actually use a proper friendly URL. Now with any luck, that will also have meant that our links work. Okay, our pagination works now because we're looking for page 2. There we go. That's reassuring. I always like it when things are fixed within a couple of seconds. Okay. I've got this horrible feeling that we've finished the tutorial. I seem to have covered everything that I wanted to cover. Oh no, one more thing, and that was internationalization. That's right. At the beginning of the tutorial, in our style CSS, you remember that I mentioned a text domain. That is in order to be able to furnish any static text that's still lurking within our template with a dynamic bit of text. We can wrap this, for example, in a function which will allow people to change it on the fly using .mo and .po files. More information is available on WP-Tuts, of course, and I will point you to those. For the time being though, I will just demonstrate to you what that looks like. If we wrap up, there are various functions to use, and they all do more or less the same thing in slight variations. I need to wrap a string using this e function, underscore e. What did I call our text domain? I call it magazine, and that's it, like that. I can never remember which way around it is. .mo or .po, one of those two. That file will be loaded depending on the localization of the theme, and any strings translated which match this string will replace this string. So if I have my translation file which happens to have sorry no posts matched your criteria string in there, translated into another language, it will then pump out that string rather than this one. So this is a really useful way of just protecting your theme for future translations. Now obviously if there are no translation files available, that's not a problem either, because it will just pump out this string that we've given to begin with. So what I'm going to do is just search for the few occasions in my theme where we have static bits of text, like so, and I'm going to make sure that they all have the proper little function wrapped around them. Oh, the breadcrumb trail, I haven't even I've completely missed that. Okay, I'll go back to that in a second. Okay, that's sorted out that, and in header there is no static text. In footer we have the copyright statement, like so. And this powered by Web Design Tuts. I'll get rid of this, sorry Marty, for the sake of simplicity. Magazine. Okay. Alright, that's dealt with all the little bits of static snippets in there. I want to just get make this breadcrumb trail properly. That was going to be a list of the categories, wasn't it? So that I'm going to replace all those links with the category. That's going to output any categories that happen to be assigned to the post, and it's going to separate them with a greater than symbol. Okay. Save that. And upon checking out our theme, you'll notice very little difference. All these little bits of internationalized text that I just slotted in there are still present, no different whatsoever, but at least they're prepared for any alteration in the future should that be necessary. So, wow, we're finished. That's been quite a job. Oh, hang on. No, we're not. Oh, there's always more testing, isn't there? That needs altering. Let's have a look at this. Just when you think you're done. Okay, flex slider slides image. Let's go into our layout. That's not there, is it? Notice. We have a max width, and it's obviously because it's generating a height in the code there, so we need to just override that. Comme ça. There we go. So everything's working, the video's working, the Flickr feed is working. Alright, good. Good. Now, like I say, obviously there's an awful lot still left to be done if you want to continue playing with this. We have pages that could need editing. We have the comments which could do with being sorted out. Other bits and bobs, perhaps you'd like a different a video widget, one that actually doesn't require you to just copy and paste the embed code. All sorts of things. I'd be quite curious to know what you managed to do with the theme. But in any case, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learnt something whilst following along with this tutorial. My name's Ian Yates, and thank you from all of us at Web Design Tuts, signing out.